Hello you two, Mr. Mallon here today, and today is a bit of a strange guided reading today because today we're finding the strangest place that we can to read. Now, I've only got a small flat, so it's quite difficult for me to work out a funny place for me to read or an unusual place for me to read. I've chosen my laundry cupboard, so I'm sat on top of my washing machine, got all my cleaning stuff here, got my step ladder here, all the laundry detergent behind me, and I've even got the boiler right here as well. Bit of a strange place to read, but it's nice and warm though. So I'm going to read you a story from The World's Worst Children, and it's called Peter Picker. Peter Picker. Some children like to blow their nose, some like to pick. Peter was a picker. The boy always had a finger up his nose, sometimes two, one in each nostril. The buried treasure he was searching was of purest green, snot. Although he was short for his age, Peter Picker could pick an extensive and seemingly endless supply of it. Runny snot, gloopy snot, hard snot, snot balls, snot icicles, snot stalactites, snot stalagmites. He was the lord of all that was green and slimy. After picking, the boy would give his latest morsel of snot a quick inspection and then add to his ball of bogies. He had read in a book of world records that the biggest ever bogey recorded was produced by a rather hefty German girl named Fraulein Schleim. Hers was the size of a cannonball and weighed as much as a medium-sized pig. Really liking the idea that he could earn a place in the Book of World Records, Peter Picker set about attempting to smash his rival's effort. He was determined to produce the bogey to end all bogies, a gargantuan ball of snot. He'd started with just one ordinary medium-sized bogey. However, once he had stuck bogey after bogey to it, it became a super bogey, then a mega bogey, and finally it progressed to being an ultra bogey. Now, every time the boy picked his nose, which was at least once every few seconds, he added to it. When Peter started, it was just the size of a pea, but with each new green globule it grew, and soon it was the size of a conker, then a melon, then a football, then a snowman. The boy became so focused on entering the record books that he often bunked off school so he could spend all day picking his nose. At first, Peter was able to carry this ball of snot around with him. When it became too big and heavy, the boy simply rolled it along the street. However, one morning on the way to school, Peter had accidentally run over his neighbour's cat, Ginger, and the poor creature had become stuck in the snot ball. The bogey was so sticky, Peter had to shave the cat's hair to remove it, and now the boy kept the sphere of snot safe in his bedroom. By the time of this story, the sphere of snot was the size of an asteroid. It seemed like it had come from outer space too. But with new bogies being picked, licked and flicked onto it by the minute, Peter's snot sphere was becoming too big even for his bedroom. The boy's bed and wardrobe were crushed by the size and weight of his truly evil-looking ultra bogey. One morning, while rooting around in his nostril, Peter found a particularly large booger. Without a second, though, he wiped it on the snot sphere, but this was one final piece too many, and the boy heard a buckling sound. Bang! It was the floorboards creaking under the enormous weight of the ultra bogey. Peter raced out of his room and downstairs to the kitchen. Looking up at the ceiling, he saw cracks shooting across it. And then before Peter could pick his nose again, the snot sphere crashed down through the ceiling and landed next to him. The boy screamed as dust and debris covered him. Peter had very nearly been killed by his own mucus, and it was on a roll now, literally, and heading straight for the boy. Peter dashed out of his house, but the snot sphere smashed through the front wall and chased its creator down the street. Peter's parents stared down from their bedroom window. Their mouths were wide open, but no sound came out. Such was their shock at the scene. Being made of compacted bogies, the snot sphere was incredibly sticky. As a result, it picked up everything in its path as it rolled. A little dog, an old lady who was walking the little dog, a bicycle, a boy who was riding the bicycle, a lawnmower, a gardener using the lawnmower. Soon all these things and more were spinning wildly down the road, stuck to the snot sphere. Peter's bogey was growing bigger and bigger. The bigger the bogey became, the faster it rolled. As Peter kept running and running and running away from it, the snot sphere picked up a postbox and uprooted a tree. Even a car became stuck to it. When the ever-growing snot sphere rolled on top of a bus of people and managed to glue itself to the roof, Peter really began to panic. As the people on the bus spun round and round, the visitors to some nightmarish snot-themed amusement park, the boy realised he was running for his life. Now the Snot Sphere was so huge it was picking up houses as it rolled. First a bungalow, then a large family home. What with the house, the bungalow, the bus, the car, the tree, the postbox, the lawnmower, the gardener using a lawnmower, the bicycle, the boy riding the bicycle, the little dog, and of course, let's not forget little old lady who was out walking her little dog, all stuck to it. The Snot Sphere was growing at a truly alarming rate. But Peter had a plan. The only way he could survive was to go underground. That's where the Snot Sphere could not reach him. Up ahead, the boy spied a drain and dashed towards it. Desperately, he pulled on the grates with all his strength. Oh, please, 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 he said to himself. His fingers slipped on the metal. They were wet and withered from being up his nose all day. Just in time, Peter managed to pull the grate off and leap down into the murky depths below. The Snot Sphere rumbled overhead. Peter breathed a huge sigh of relief, which echoed around the drain. When he felt it was safe again, the boy climbed back up to the surface. Peter watched as the giant Snot Sphere spun off into the distance, picking up everything in its path. A fire engine, a parade of shops, even a herd of cows who had been minding their own business, getting on with some quiet mooing. And seeing the mass destruction his creation had caused, Peter Picker decided it was probably best not to mention to anyone that he was the creator of this snot-based ball. With all that had happened, he was willing to let Fraulein Shine retain the title for the world's biggest bogey. So Peter ambled down the road towards school. It was the first time he'd attended for weeks. However, when Peter arrived at the school gates, he realised the school was in fact no longer there. There were just dark patches on the playground where the school buildings used to be. Peter's spinning ball of doom must have rolled ahead of him this way too and sucked all the school buildings up into it. All that could be seen was a lone pair of Wellington boots standing where the dining hall used to be. The boots had belonged to the fearsome dinner lady, Mrs. Slaughter. No doubt she and all the teachers had been plucked up by the mega bogey too. Peter smirked. At least now I don't have to go to school ever again, he chuckled as he stood alone in the playground feeling like the last man on earth. Then just as he was about to turn round and head home, or at least to what was left of his home, Peter heard a sound behind him. It was getting louder and louder by the moment, a rumbling sound, a thundering sound, a deafening sound. The ground was shaking beneath the boy's feet. Peter gulped in fear. Ooh. He knew full well what it was. He could barely bring himself to turn round to face it, but he had to. Slowly he twisted his neck and saw that the great Snot Sphere must have rolled all the way around the earth and was now heading back, straight for him. By now it was the size of a moon and had picked up various landmarks on its epic journey. The Eiffel Tower, the Roman Colosseum, the Sydney Opera House, the Taj Mahal, St. Basil's Cathedral, an Egyptian pyramid, and the Houses of Parliament all were sticking out like little flakes on a Mr. Whippy ice cream. Buckingham Palace had been pulled out of the ground and rolled away too, exposing Her Majesty the Queen red-faced and sitting on the loo. Peter screamed as the thing sped closer and closer. The mega bogey was by now so megatastical that it blocked out the sun. A huge dark shadow fell across the boy, and he felt cold. Peter closed his eyes in terror as the Snot Sphere rolled over him and plucked him clean off the ground. The top of the boy's head was instantly stuck in the ball as it thundered its way off back round the earth. But Her Majesty the Queen was angry that everyone had seen her on the loo, so she ordered her palace guards to fire their cannon at the Snot Sphere. The cannon zoomed towards the giant bogey. The Snot Sphere exploded into pieces that began to fall back down to earth, returning everyone and everything to their rightful places, except one boy. Peter was still stuck in a huge chunk of snot. This piece flew through the air, only to land on top of St. Paul's Cathedral. His parents visited St. Paul's Cathedral every Sunday and hurled him snacks and food from the ground. Peter Picker remained stuck to the spire for the rest of his life, upside down in his own giant bogey, which is of course what can happen if you pick your nose. Next time, just blow your nose instead. I do enjoy that story. It's a bit gross, but I do enjoy it. So what I'd like you guys to do at home today is I'd like you to have a go at finding a really strange or unusual space for you to read in. It can be indoors, it can be outdoors, it's entirely up to you. As long as it's somewhere safe and an adult is there to make sure that that place is safe for you to go, absolutely fine. So no hiding in the fridge, no hiding under the bed, Anywhere that's safe, anywhere that your adult thinks, yep, that's a safe place for you to read, go for it and have a read in your own strange reading space. And I can't wait to hear what stories you read. If you fancy something extra to do, take a look at this video and I'll show you an extra task that you can have a go at yourself. Okay, then you two. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be designing a comic strip of a story that you've read. So I read the story of Peter Picker. So you'd write the name of your story in the top. And then we're going to retell the story in pictures. So I'm going to draw a picture of Peter. I'm going to draw him sticking his finger up his nose, because he's having a good pick, just like in the story. So that's the first thing that happened in the story. Just add some hair. You can even add colour to your comic if you want to. Okay, what happened next? He added the bogey to the gigantic bogey. So I'm going to draw a picture of his finger with a bogey on his finger, and he's going to be popping that bogey onto the big bogey. So there's his finger. There's the bogey. And there's that big bogey. And then he added so many bogies that it became an enormous bogey that took up the whole room. So now I'm going to just add giant bogey so we know what it is. And for the next bit I'm going to draw his gigantic bogey in the room. So there's Peter. There's the bogey. I'm going to add some details behind it to show what's in the room. So I'm going to have a window over here. Then I'm going to draw the windowsill underneath. Then I'll have a window on the other side. There we go. And next, the big bogey broke out of the house and it started chasing him down the road. So let's draw the road. And a big bogey. And there's Peter. With his hands in the air, running away. Okay, next part of the story. What happened next? He climbed into the drain, didn't he? So I need to draw a picture of him climbing down into the drain. So that's part of the pavement. There's the pipe going down the drain. Let's draw some wet sewage underneath. And there's Peter climbing down the pipe. Okay, next part they used the cannon. So I'm going to draw a picture of a cannon and they use that to blow up the bogey. So there's the cannon. There's the ball from the cannon being fired out, and then we're going to draw it. Let's write boom to show the noise it made, and I'm going to draw a picture of the bogey, just the corner of the bogey with the cannonball flying towards it. And then finally we have St. Paul's Cathedral with Peter stuck at the top in his bogey. So what I'd like you to have a go at drawing your story as a comic. Try and retell the story, just the important bits, through pictures. And you can add little words to it if you want to as well. You can add colour to it if you want to make it more colourful. So just take your time, don't rush, and give that a go. See if you can show your story as a comic strip. And enjoy. I hope you enjoy that. Enjoy the drawing as well. And I can't wait to see your stories and how you've retold them through pictures. I'll talk to you again very, very soon. I'll be back tomorrow for guided reading, and I'm also here for handwriting and spelling too. So I'll talk to you again very, very soon, Year 2. Bye for now.